Right, this is going to be a bit different from my usual stuff. Not scripted, just off the cuff. So we'll see how that goes. So Fulgrim the Perfect Son. There was a lot of hope riding on this for a bunch of people. A lot of high hopes after the all the lore we had gotten in the new edition, or the lack thereof. The codex was a joke in terms of lore. We got very little. We got like 3 new warbands worth of stuff, and all that was in the same paragraph. No word on what Eidolon or Lucius are up to in the modern setting. Nothing on Julius or the existing warbands. We got nothing on the Renegade chapters. Very disappointing. And there was a bit of a suspicion that this book, it was all basically being saved for this. And were we wrong. We were so wrong. For anyone who has not read this book, I will be very quick and to the point. I don't recommend it. I don't think you should pay money for it. And I don't think you should waste your time on it. It is a poor showing both for the writer and for the Legion. So I think to start off with, there was 2 short stories. There was 2 short stories that were released. One was in White Dwarf, the other was Black Library, published on the website. And the first one for White Dwarf, it was basically how Fulgrim stole a ship. You would think that some of the characters might pop up, but no. There was one mortal character alive by the end. He doesn't show up at all. The veneration is basically set dressing. It's got no real importance to the plot. There was a battle between the Death Guard and the emperorschildren going on in the background, and the Death Guard have no relevance to the novel. They don't pop up. That's not something that continues into this novel. So yeah, it was fine. It was decent, but it doesn't really affect the plot of this book at all. Fulgrim has a ship. We don't know what's going on with the Pride of the Emperor. Who knows why that's a thing? Maybe someone stole it. Maybe it's just because GW doesn't really know what to do with a Gloriana class ship just floating around. Then again, they're fine giving the world leaders theirs. But and then the second book, I believe this was the one that Black Library put out themselves. That one was basically, it introduced the main character. I don't think it did a very good job at it. I don't think you really got a proper sense of him. And the plot was effectively a repeat of Faultless Blade, but shorter and not as good. And honestly, Tamaris, the main character, I would basically describe as Tesco Lucius. Like, Lucius got a bit of a bad rap in the Heresy with the amount of times he just loses, but Tamaris is just absolutely useless. And he doesn't have the thing with Lucius where he can, like, rely on his ability to resurrect. Like, if this guy dies, he dies, and he's not very competent as a commander. And he's got the nickname of the Exquisite Blade, but he just sucks. He loses constantly, and even in the end, when it's like, oh, it's time for the rematch, he basically has to backstab the other guy when he's not looking. So yeah, it's not a great start. Not a great start. And the quick plot of that little short story is just he gets caught by some Dark Eldar and has to kill a guy and break out. And the whole point is basically like, oh, he went in searching for treasures, and then when he finally got his stuff, he didn't really care. And it's like, okay, that's fine, I guess. And then we arrive at the novel itself. It released, I think, like a week later. And it's no good, no bueno, very bad. So the plot, it starts off, we get this sorcerer coming to meet Tamaris, and he's like, oh, Fulgrim's unifying the Legion, and apparently the sorcerer is like Fulgrim's number 2, even though we've never heard of him. And like, who are you? Where did you come from? You're not Julius, you're not Eidolon, who the fuck are you? How are you relevant? How did you meet Fulgrim? Are you the guy that got him out of retirement to be active? Did he meet you along the way? Have you been close to him since the Heresy? We don't really know. He shows up, he's a nuisance, he dies. It's kind of just pathetic. He gets Tamaris and the Perfecti, because of course they're called the Perfecti. Oh, the Emperor's children. They search for perfection. What'll we call this warband? Who's the only new warband in the whole book? It's like, well, fuck, okay, we got some characters, they seek perfection. Perfect. Fuck, I've got it. I assume that's how the thought process went. You know, we skip a little bit forward, and Fulgrim reveals himself. They're all gathered, and Fulgrim's like, oh yeah, we're going to take this world, and I want my own champion, and whoever takes the world and kills the guy who's running the place, you get to be my champion. And immediately off the bat, there's problems here. Because it's like, oh, who? So Fulgrim wants a champion. And it's like, oh, why does he want one? Well, he wants to be like his dad. And you're like, okay, it's a bit weird. I don't know why you need one. You already had Lucius. That was sort of his thing. Fulgrim's champion. I guess that's just not a thing anymore. Who knows? The book doesn't tell us about Lucius. Lucius doesn't even get mentioned. How does Lucius feel about the fact that he got thrown aside? Who knows? We might never know. How did Fulgrim come to the idea that he doesn't want Lucius anymore and he wants a new one? Who knows? Why does Fulgrim want one because of his dad when he already had one? Who knows? And the other thing we come to know is that Fulgrim wants to take Terra. I don't know why he wants to take Terra. I don't know where this came from. I've talked to a number of Emperor's Children fans about this, and none of them like it. It seems very out of character for the guy who, in the heresy, had to basically be dragged to the Siege of Terra because he did not give two shits about it. And, you know, some people have opinions when it comes to the fall of Fulgrim. There's issues there and how his characterization is, but once he is fully a demon and degenerate, he's fairly consistent for the most part. And he's very steadily been characterized as he does not give a fuck about chaos and like their weird like power plays, unless, you know, it's to make himself look good, or if they're directly interfering with one of his little schemes. And when it comes to the Imperium, he doesn't care. That was kind of his big thing. He didn't care. Oh, we're gonna take the Siege of Terra is about to happen. It's gonna be great. Fulgrim's like, I don't fucking care, and Lorga had to drag his arse down there. You know, he's on the walls, and he could have taken it. Rogal Dorn himself admits Fulgrim and the Legion could have taken it himself, and Fulgrim just went, you know, I'm not feeling it, and leaves. So having this character of all of the Primarchs for this motivation, it makes very little sense for Fulgrim to do it. At least as shown, there could have been a little plot point where it's like, here's how Fulgrim arrived on it. You know, we know because of the Josh Reynolds books that Fulgrim was basically repeating Chemos again and again, and the events on it, and how he landed, and he was trying all these different things, and sometimes he'd be noble, sometimes he'd be just an evil tyrant. And you could have tied that into him. We know because of a Nick Kime short story that the demon is still present last time we see, so that's still messing with him until further notice. So you could have had something there, but instead they were like, no, he just really cares about this for some reason. Who knows? And then of course there's you know there's someone a bit absent when it comes to a big gathering of the Legion. Where's Eidolon? Where's the Phoenix Conclave? This guy's been built up for years at this point. He just got a novel himself not long ago. And the book pretends he basically doesn't exist. The Codex pretends he doesn't exist. All the new lore just pretends that man does not exist. So you're sitting there, you're scratching, like, alright, Fulgrim's character is being treated weirdly. Lucius, who should very much have a stake in this, is not present, and he's not even mentioned at all. And Eidolon, who the fuck knows where he is? So not off to an excellent start, but it's like, okay, this is what we're doing. We'll see how it goes. You know, it's you would think it'd be recoverable. It wasn't, sadly. So by that point, you're introduced to probably the better plot line in the book, which still isn't really that strong, where it's like, oh, the Templar sees a vision of Dorn, and he's got to go to this planet, and he's got to defend it, and he's going to be the Emperor's champion, and he's just sort of noble and stoic. And the reason it's probably the best of the plot lines is, here's the Black Templars. They have their own sort of problems in that, you know, they're zealous and they don't quite... Like, the thing that really just screwed the Templars is they just didn't bring enough men, really. But anytime they fight, they're very competent, they're very deadly to everything around them. There's never a point where you're like, man, the Black Templars are stupid and ineffective and terrible. Like, that doesn't really become a thought you have, unlike with the Emperor's Children, sadly. The Emperor's Children, as shown in this book, are incapable of being a threat to the Imperium. And I think it's one of the worst examples from a Black Library author at being really bad at numbers. So you're looking just at the first drop pod assault on the planet, and taking into the idea that there's no dreadnoughts, there's no demon engines, just the number of drop pods and the amount of men that might be in it. You're looking at maybe 10,000 Marines coming down. Now that's a sizable chunk of a legion. And that's along with fleet elements, you've got demon engines, and you've got Titans as well. Versus a combat patrol of Templar, some militia and guard, and a shield. That's it. And you would think, alright, they're probably going to lose some people in the first wave, but they're going to absolutely smash this. Because they have every advantage needed. And no, they lose. They lose constantly, and quite badly. Tamaris goes to fight a guy and loses. And then, it's like weeks pass. And this was the big one where I was like, okay, numbers and war. This was the big one when I came to the Black Library author is very bad at numbers. It was like, over the course of weeks during the first battle, 30 people died. It's like, that's it. You have 10,000 dudes round about. You have numerous warbands. It's like, is this 30 dudes? That's it. 30 dudes was the worst thing that could happen. Like, seriously, this is it. You're acting like this is a travesty. This should be the amount of people that died in the initial drop pod assault, just getting shot down. And instead the book's like, it's a really big deal that they lost a single demon engine and some cultists and 30 guys. It's like, oh no, not 30 guys when you besiege a place. Oh no. After reading this book, I think 3 chapters, you get 3 competent chapters like the Raptors at full strength. They could probably just kill the Legion. Going off this book alone, yeah, they could just wipe the Legion by themselves. They're not really a threat at all. You're like, a combat patrol of Black Templars with a Void Shield delayed the Emperor's Children for weeks on end. And the Emperor's Children don't even break the Void Shield. The reason that they get in is because there's some cultists on the inside. Actually, no, it wasn't even the cultist. Not even a guardswoman. A militia woman commits suicide and blows the Void Shield. And if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't just be able to stream in and win in the end. Now, I've said 10,000 Marines versus all this, but that's only a calculation based off the initial drop pod assault. Just that. We don't know how many are in the fleet. We know there's a handful of ships. We don't know the total. Is it a third of the Legion? Is it 10%? Is it 90 and Eidolon and the Phoenix Conclave are just fucked off in a corner? We don't know. We're not told. Let's look at just the Perfecti. Let's look at the main character's warband. How many people could be in that? And it's I think 5 dudes, maybe. It doesn't really specify if it's is this just a group we happen to be following? Is this just a little subsect that he's like, all right, you're my retinue, we'll go. We know they're elite, they're small, there's not many of them, but it's is this it? You're telling me, this guy is a notable figure. Watch out, he has 5 guys. And then you look at the Legion as a whole, and you would think there would be dozens of champions, there'd be dozens of warlords vying to get this. Surely those would be notable characters in the book. No. There's no new warbands outside the Perfecti. There's no real name champions aside from the sorcerer vying for the position. There should be a whole bunch of people right off the bat who are this is someone to watch out for. There's this guy, there's this other guy. No. It's Julius Caesar is, once the veil of the warp is weakened in the area, would he pop up? He was a big brown noser for his father. His big dream was to be like him. He led a third of the Legion at the end of the heresy. Is there anyone from Eidolon's group at all? No. No one from the Cohorts Nausicaa. No one from the Renegade Warbands popped up to just check in. It's there might as well just be, there's the Perfecti, there's this one sorcerer, and there's maybe 20 other guys. And the only reason the 20 other guys are relevant is because there's a little scene where they all die and kill each other, and that's it. They don't have names, they're not really characters at all. And another thing is that a lot of people have talked about is Fulgrim's really barely in this book. It's not a, Son of the Forest with the lion sort of case where he's, the lion's in the book a lot. He gets some character development. You get to see him. He's very much like Angron's book, where you get fuck all about him, and what you do get is not great. It's not great at all, as I've said earlier. So with Angron's book, at least you had the Cossalax plot line, where it's like, all right, here's your new Legion head, here's your Eidolon equivalent, and he basically lies. He basically lies about what he's doing. He's like, oh yeah, I am the voice of Angron. You should listen to me. And really, Angron's not said shit. He's just screaming in rage in the background half the time, killing things. But, at least it's like, alright, what did the World Leaders book do? You had the Cossalax plotline. He took the Conqueror. He united a chunk of the Legion under him. And now they're going to be out in the galaxy doing all this other stuff. They at least had that. This book, none of the plot lines are very good. Like, there's no Cossalax equivalent for it. And that's very sad. And another little thing that people have harped on a bit is the presence of a bunch of stuff that you don't get to use in the Codex, like Venom Crawlers and Forge Fiends and a bunch of other stuff. Like there's Havocs, there's Possessed, I believe. There's a host of other stuff. And so some people give Jude Reed grief for that, and I don't, because that is something a lot of the authors will do. You'll get units and stuff you can't actually use. It's very normal for them to do. And also, if you're going to complain about that, the real people to complain about is the people who wrote that terrible codex. Where they're like, well, the Emperor's Children are fast, which means you only get these units. But you're not going to get Raptors, though, because that's too fast. And they've basically put the Legion in a box, and it's sad to see with that. But that's not Jude Reed's fault, and I wouldn't criticise her for it. The biggest thing I would criticise this whole thing for... The biggest thing I would criticise this thing for, and it's the ultimate issue of the whole book, is it's just dull to read. It's very boring, even like ignoring all the issues of like not touching on some major aspects or weird bits of characterization. It's just not a good book. It's very boring. You're like, oh, the Emperor's Children, we're going to get some real debauched stuff, and it's like, you get a little bit. Is there any like really cool action? Not really. Is there like some interesting new character dynamics? No. Is there like new concepts we've not seen in any of the other novels, It's like, no, you don't get that either. There's nothing really of note outside of like, Fulgrim got a new champion. He wants to take Terra for some reason. Who knows why. I suppose to wrap it up, this book could have been an email, and it would probably be better off for it. Bye-bye then.